Steven Universe and all associated images are property of Cartoon Network, Rebecca Sugar, and any and all other respective owners. I don't know them all. All footage in this video has been used for the purpose of critique parody under fair use. Please support the official release. You guys may or may not know that recently we got a series of Steven Universe shorts, presumably released at this time to help us survive the soul-crushing depths of the current hiatus, which is supposedly ending soon. I definitely hope that's true. And I do intend to review those shorts at some point very soon. In fact, I intend to review all of the Steven Universe shorts as part of a new series that I'm going to start relatively soon. But the shorts aren't specifically what we're talking about today. It just happens that it was a question I received about the shorts that gave me an idea for this analysis video. Shortly, no pun intended, after the shorts came out, someone asked me over on my Tumblr page whether or not the Steven Universe shorts are intended to be canon. This person had kind of placed them off in a nebulous, non-canon area until we saw the Wacky Sacks hot dog duffel bag from one of not the most recent run of Steven Universe shorts, but the one previous, in an actual episode of the show. And I answered the question with a pretty simple yes, the shorts are intended to be canon. They have tied into canon events before. But then I went back and really thought about it, and I realized that with the exception of the Classroom Gems shorts, which are probably not literally canon as the characters talk directly to the audience, but are still canon in that they are written to convey canon information, there had never been, up until the event of that duffel bag appearing in the show, an example of elements of the shorts being carried over into the actual series. So it got me thinking, what exactly is the Steven Universe canon? Now, canon, and that is canon with one N in the middle instead of two, and therefore not referring to a weapon, has several different definitions, and none of them perfectly fit the way that we typically use canon today in relation to television shows, or books, or movies, or anything of the sort. The closest I can find is these two definitions which seem to overlap with each other pretty significantly, that being the works of a particular author or artist that are recognized as genuine, and a list of works considered to be permanently established as being of the highest quality. The first referring to, obviously, works by a single author. The second referring to works in a genre, such as the example here puts it, English poetry. In this example, the canon of English poetry would be the poems which fit into that category, which are often considered the best. Looking at these two definitions and combining the elements which seem to fit the parameters of a television show, we can define canon as a list of works created to contribute to the ongoing storyline of a particular series that are recognized to have a genuine impact on that ongoing narrative. So, to take an example directly from the show, Garnet's universe is canon. Garnet did come home, Steven did sneak up on her, and then Steven did tell her a story. But the events of the story that Steven told to Garnet in the episode Garnet's universe are not canon. They didn't actually happen, only the story itself did. So while technically speaking, Garnet did do those things in the show. She did go to the woods, meet up with a frog and a rabbit, and then murder Ronaldo. Those events are not actually canon. They don't actually impact the overarching narrative. And as someone who creates fan theories about the show, it's my job to, as often as possible, sort out what can be considered genuine canon and what can't. Obviously, anything that occurs in the show itself, and I do mean occurs, not something that one character made up and told to another, is part of the actual canon, as well as the things that we see in the series, and by extension things that we can surmise based on what we see and what occur that aren't specifically pointed out to us, can also be considered canon if only one interpretation of those things is obvious. It's actually at this point in trying to interpret canon that theorizing occurs, until one interpretation is made entirely obvious to us, is made so obvious that it becomes the only acceptable interpretation. There is room for theory. It's why no matter what we learn about the show, until we get some concrete evidence of what exactly the scene in the mural in Sirius Steven depicts, we can only guess at what it's actually showing us and what that actually means. It's pretty common within a lot of ongoing works of fiction, like a television series for example, for there to be contributions to that work that don't fall within canon. A great example would be the plethoras of novels written within the continuities of various science fiction shows, such as the hundreds and hundreds of novels written within the universe of Star Trek, for example. While each of these stories do contribute to the overarching narrative of Star Trek and the universe of Star Trek, only those that are novelizations of existing stories are considered canon. As in the context of a show like Star Trek, only the events that we see on screen actually happen. Up until recently, the Star Wars expanded universe, the huge array of novels, comic books, and video games associated with the Star Wars universe, were also considered canon, and anyone who intended to contribute a story to that universe had to consider all of them. But there is not always a strict separation of canon and non-canon. Sometimes supplementary works are considered canon in certain circumstances automatically. Steven Universe, for example, has a series of comic books, which do contribute to the overarching story of Steven Universe, and are considered canon, but they're considered lesser canon than the show itself. What this means is if an event in the comics is directly contradicted by the show, that comic is no longer canon, and that all comic books written to contribute to the overarching story of Steven Universe must consider all of the episodes and avoid adding anything to the narrative that contradicts those episodes, lest that comic become non-canon as well. And for anyone who's asking, this status of the Steven Universe comic books has been confirmed by the crew. I also go by the rule that anything that the crew says that isn't directly confirming something that the show may have left unclear should also be considered this lesser type of canon. Yes, the crew makes the show and knows more about it than anyone else, but you have to realize that they are writing an ongoing story, and what they have planned could change at a moment's notice. You can never take something that they say about the future state of the show entirely at face value until it is confirmed by the show itself. I think that the shorts, the most recent run of shorts and the one immediately previous, which first introduced the hot dog duffel bag, should be considered this lesser stage of canon as well. I definitely get the sense that these shorts are supposed to be part of the main canon of the show, but none of them introduce us to anything that the show itself hasn't already introduced us to. Nothing impactful to the overall plot of the series, anyway. So I just find it easier to treat them like the comics. They're an interesting diversion, they're fun to watch because they contain stories about the characters that we know and love, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to consider them when writing my theories. And also, at the end of the day, should you want to theorize about the show yourself, you are perfectly free to consider the shorts part of the canon if you wish. They're in that nebulous state of not being canon or non-canon. There's something in between. I'm not going to get into what the actual Steven Universe canon contains in this particular video, and I'm not going to talk about retcons in this video either, though I do intend to address both of those ideas at a later time, the first of which I'll be addressing very shortly in my new revised timeline of the Gem Civil War. After all, considering how important canon actually is to theorists and general fans alike, I feel like the idea of canon itself is deserving of its own video. But for those of you who felt like this video was a little bit lackluster, and I can understand why some of you would, I want to assure you that not only is this very likely going to be the driest analysis I'll ever write about this show, but I also have some new stuff coming very soon that I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to enjoy. I'm going to begin reviewing other shows that a lot of you guys have shown interest in me talking about, starting with Gravity Falls. I'm even looking into a couple of ways that I could either live blog or live vlog my reactions to the Gravity Falls episodes as I view them, as I have yet to see a single episode of the show. Not to mention the fact that I'm currently in the process of putting together a Patreon, which will include a few interesting reward tiers that I think you guys might get a big kick out of. Let's just say I may be expanding my horizons very, very soon by reviewing some things that you guys might like to see me review. All that said, guys, what is your take on canon? How would you define it if you would define it differently? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. As I mentioned earlier, this is probably the driest Steven Universe analysis I'm ever going to write, but I really do feel like talking about this was necessary to help you guys understand a little bit better what it is that I take into account when I'm making my videos. I also find the topic pretty interesting, and first and foremost, these are my videos that I make because I enjoy them. As per usual, guys, you can keep up to date with every single one of my uploads by hitting the subscribe button or liking the AJ Universe page over on Facebook, link in the description below. And you can get to know me a little bit better by heading over to my Tumblr page, where you can send me asks pertaining to my thoughts and opinions on the show, and even follow my personal blog. Oh, and also apparently YouTube is having this problem right now where it doesn't display every single upload from all of your subscribers in your feed. So if you haven't been getting 3 to 4 notifications from me each week, keep in mind that you may be having this problem as it pertains to my channel. As I mentioned, you can solve this problem by liking me over on Facebook, as I do post every single one of my uploads to Facebook as well. But if you prefer, you can also go to YouTube over here next to the subscriber button and just click on this little bell symbol. Check this box and then hit save. That'll tell YouTube to send you an individual notification every single time something is posted on my channel. So keep that in mind. I love all you guys and I don't want you to miss out. Either way, thanks for watching.